Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of our podcast. And today we have Blessing with us. Hi, Blessing.
Hello, how do you do?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you, Blessing?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. So the very first thing that I wanted to ask you is, your name is Blessing. So could you tell me what's the origin story of naming you Blessing? Like, who thought of naming you Blessing?
Since I was barely aware of my environment, I would not be able to say exactly, but I think it's my mom. And I think she was just expecting the blessing. She had like 3 girls before me. She wanted a boy, but when she got me, she decided I was going to be a blessing, and I have been a blessing. Yeah.
All right, great. That's very amazing. Good name, great name actually, to be honest. All right, and so Blessing, as we have already discussed, basically we are a organization where we make sure that there are certain things in terms of mental health that's still not aware to people. So with the help of this podcast, what we do is we want to bring that awareness and remove the stigma that's surrounding mental health. So before starting the podcast and discussing on our topic that we have chose today, I'd want you to please get yourself introduced to our audience. Let them know about yourself so that we can start the conversation from there. Okay?
Yes, please. So my name is Dr. Blessing Ntamu, actually. So I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also an educational psychologist. Well, I am an academic. I lecture in the university environment. That makes me a researcher as well. That's quite a lot of hats. But I'm also an author, and I'm a YouTuber because I'm also trying to create mental health awareness. And so I have a YouTube channel, The Psychologist NGTV, where I make videos on mental health as well. And I share, and I'd love you all to check that out.
Yeah, definitely. So, Blessing, you're a clinical psychologist, you're an educational psychologist, and you also do research. So, how does your typical day look like?
Well, it can be hectic, and in fact, it used to be until I started practicing mindfulness. That's a kind of a therapy type, all third wave therapies include mindfulness. It's been wonderful since I started being mindful. I'm better able to organize my schedules, and then I'm not under too much pressure, and I can get on pretty well.
Right. And where are you currently right now? Where are you right now?
I beg your pardon. Okay, yes, I'm in Nigeria. Yeah, I'm in Cross River State in Nigeria. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Blessing. So again, thanks for taking time. I know it should be really hectic for you given your vast experiences and your work. Thanks for joining us again. And we'll start discussing about the topic today that you have chose. You have chose perinatal depression, right? That's the topic, correct?
Yes.
So could you tell me what exactly? Yeah. So could you tell me what exactly it is and why exactly you have chose this topic for today?
Okay, so perinatal depression, of course, I imagine we are familiar with what depression is. If not, in a nutshell, depression refers to feelings of sadness, moodiness, feelings of hopelessness, feelings of emptiness, feelings of worthlessness and guilt, and such feelings that impair an individual from normal functioning, that endure for at least 2 weeks persistently, pervasive and persistent for at least 2 weeks. That's just trying to give us an idea of what depression is. When we talk about perinatal, we are referring to a period between when a woman is pregnant to when she has a baby and after she has a baby. So we are covering 2 types or 2 periods there, what we call the antepartum or the antenatal period, and also the postpartum period. So when a woman feels depressed within this period, during the antepartum period or the antenatal period, and then also after she has a baby, the postpartum period for up to 6 months after her baby. So if she's depressed within that period, then we say she has perinatal depression.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just in case I could go ahead, there's a lot to this because generally the process of pregnancy and delivery and caring for a newborn, having to be responsible for the life of a newborn, these are associated with symptoms of depression. So generally, pregnancy and delivery and baby care after delivery, they're associated with symptoms of depression. So it can be pretty hard to tell if the woman is just expressing the normal symptoms of pregnancy and postpartum, post-delivery, or if she's depressed. So you might need a professional to help you diagnose a woman during pregnancy or after pregnancy with perinatal depression. But basically, I think maybe we should leave. I should leave you have a say here before I go ahead. Yeah.
No worries. Blessing. Thanks for actually letting me know. But I'm just curious, why did you choose this topic today? I mean, why did you choose there are many topics again, but why did you want to shed light on this particular topic?
Yeah, I wanted to shed light on this topic because it's a topic that people usually ignore. A lot of people are even aware of postpartum depression, but there's very few people are aware of antepartum or antenatal depression. People usually take it for granted, and even when people have a level of awareness, they don't usually understand what this is or how pervasive the impact of perinatal depression is taken for granted. Usually, like I said, the symptoms are misunderstood, misplaced, and it's just taken to be a normal thing. But really, perinatal depression is, according to research, the leading cause of suicide amongst postpartum women. So it's that serious. People really need to know and understand that this is not just baby blues, not just a pregnant woman and her problems, as they might assume, but this is serious. It's serious. So we have to take this seriously. And the more aware people are, the more they can support a woman going through perinatal depression. As a matter of fact, in my last pregnancy, since you asked for a personal reason, I had the baby before this one, the pregnancy before the last one, I had it 1 decade apart. So 10 years ago, I had a baby, and then 10 years after, I was pregnant for a baby. Now, because every pregnancy is different, just like every woman is different, so the circumstances are different. And people tend to think that because I've been pregnant before and I could handle it, then why is she making so much fuss about it? Isn't it just a pregnancy? They forget to understand that everybody is different. We are unique individuals. So you must consider our individuality. And then besides that, every pregnancy is different. So for me, the first 3 pregnancies, I was younger, I was in my early 20s. I didn't have so much responsibilities, so it was a lot easier than this pregnancy that came a decade apart. And my friends, even though they're women and they've been pregnant before, they couldn't understand what I was going through. I really was not clinically depressed. So my symptoms were not such that they were making me dysfunctional, or anything like that. But then I had struggles. I had this mood disruptions, mood fluctuations, and I needed a lot more understanding from my friends. But they couldn't understand me. They couldn't provide the support because to them it's just another pregnancy. So this was what actually got me. I got a video recorded on this. And then I decided when this opportunity came, I decided I was going to share this as well. Even women need to know how to support a woman going through perinatal depression or going through the perinatal period. And then the men too need to be aware so they can support their wives, their sisters, their mothers, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So Blessing, I now understand the complexity of it and also the seriousness, since you have mentioned that most of the suicides happen post pregnancy, so or post giving birth to their young ones. Why do you think this thing happens? I mean, why do you think they generally tend to be depressed in this period? What exactly happens?
Okay, so there are really many causes of perinatal depression, but the first one is that during pregnancy and postpartum, there is, during pregnancy especially, there's an increase in some hormones like progesterone, like estrogen. These hormones help us, to expand our uterus, and they help you to maintain the placenta whilst you're pregnant. And the moment you give birth, within 2 days of giving birth, the levels of progesterone and estrogen will drop drastically. You understand? So it's these hormonal fluctuations. That's why generally almost every woman has the baby blues. But there's a difference between the baby blues and perinatal depression. Baby blues is when within 48 hours or so, or at the most 1 week after delivery, you have mood fluctuations, mood swings. But that will pass usually after at most a week. And this is what causes it. But for some people, it doesn't end with the 1 week. So it continues. That's when you say they are depressed. So you see there's during pregnancy and after pregnancy, there's this hormone fluctuations. So you have progesterone and estrogen, which are associated with mood swings shooting up. You also have prolactin shooting up. And then suddenly you have this sudden crash in these hormones. And generally during pregnancy and delivery, you have a drop in the levels of serotonin and dopamine. And these are hormones that will usually balance your moods. Okay, they give us good moods, just so to say. Now, aside from this physiological cause of postpartum depression, that's why I said it depends on the individual. For women who are poverty-stricken, who are growing up in poverty, stricken regions, so they have to struggle with the thoughts of how to feed the baby, how to care for myself during pregnancy. This will increase their risk of perinatal depression. For those who are having struggles in their relationship with probably the person who got them pregnant, for instance, so they have struggles, and that it kind of increases their risk for perinatal depression. Some people who have an unwanted baby or unplanned, let's not say unwanted, let's use the word unplanned pregnancy, like I had. It was an unplanned pregnancy, so you're not really ready for this. That can also elevate your risk for perinatal depression and a lot of other social issues. For women in the pandemic also could have been a factor. So a lot of factors. If you don't have a good support network, if you have a work overload, you have a boss that is not understanding, and you're pregnant, all of this can elevate, your risk for having perinatal depression. So these are some of the causes actually. And then there's also genetic. There's also genetics. So if you have a genetic predisposition to depression, so when you're pregnant, then it means you might have perinatal depression. If you have suffered from previous depressive episodes, so if you've had depression previously when you're pregnant, and now you're pregnant, you also are at a higher risk of getting perinatal depression. So this is one of the reasons and the causes.
Right. And what might be the impacts of it? I mean, let's say, okay, before going to impacts, I just want to understand, how do I recognize that I am suffering from depression or, perinatal depression? Because, most of the times, as I've mentioned, we don't take it seriously. We think, this shall too pass or something like that. And our friends and family, as I've mentioned, they do not identify it exactly. They just think it's just, post-pregnancy or, in the pregnancy, it happens, something like that. But how do I recognize that this, the severity of this problem and this is something that I'm going through?
Okay, like I said, for 2 weeks at a stretch, you have someone, like I said, a low energy, fatigue, which is a symptom of pregnancy, and then also postpartum, because you'll be faced with a lot of responsibilities, caring for the baby, you're not sleeping enough. So you will have fatigue, you will have feelings of sadness, pervasive feelings of sadness, hopelessness, emptiness. People in the clinic have described it like they feel like they're falling into an endless pit or an endless hole, a black hole. So you have these feelings lasting for about 2 weeks at a stretch. So every day, usually, if another woman has perinatal, a pregnant woman is just having mood swings, she will swing between ups and low. So she has high moods and low moods, you understand? But for someone going through perinatal depression, this is pervasive. Every day she feels like this. So there's feelings of sadness every day, pervasive feelings of emptiness. Also, there's also feelings of worthlessness. Worthlessness, you feel worthless, you feel hopeless, you feel inadequate. When a woman is feeling inadequate, and the feelings of guilt without any basis, feelings of guilt. Now, but the very key signs is for perinatal depression, when the woman is having difficulties having the connection, bonding with her baby, that's one of the key signs. Difficulty bonding with the baby, she doesn't want to see the baby, she feels inadequate, she feels like she can't take care of the baby, she can even feel disgust towards the baby. That's a real sign of perinatal depression there. And also there'll be feelings of insomnia or parasomnia, sleeping not enough or too much during the day. That she's unable, when the woman is unable to make a decision, so she can make a decision. That's one of the signs as well. And then there's weight increase or weight loss, especially weight loss, when it's too drastic, because usually during a perinatal period, there's weight gain. So, but then this person is losing weight, but it could be either. That's where it's also difficult. It could be either weight gain or weight loss. But then when you have this associated, like I said, with inability to bond with the baby, inability to care for the baby, feelings of worriness and inadequacy for caring for the baby, that is pervasive. Then you have suicidal ideation, You have ideation, suicidal ideation.
Right.
She's talking about killing herself.
Right.
She's unable to take responsibilities or make decisions. You have all of this lasting for about 2 weeks consistently. Then you know that probably there's perinatal depression that you're dealing with. So that's it. Right. So that's some of the symptoms. Agitation. The person is agitated, irritable. Agitated, irritable, and this is all day, morning to night, every day consistently for about 2 weeks. Then this definitely is not just baby blues. It's not just pregnancy symptoms. Then that is perinatal depression. Yeah.
And Blessing, you have just mentioned yourself that you have gone through this patch. I mean, not exactly diagnosed, but you knew that something was wrong and you were going through certain terms. Could you tell me how did you experience? I mean, how was your experience and what did you try, and how did you actually come out of this?
Well, for me, like I said, it was not clinical because it was not as pervasive as this. It was not contributed. I had those mood swings. I needed people to understand that. But generally, if you have perinatal depression, one of the ways it can be dealt with, there's some research showing that just breastfeeding your baby for 3 months at a stretch after delivery can help you alleviate the symptoms of perinatal depression. So that's one that we can look at. But basically, you can do therapy. There's different kinds of therapy that can work for perinatal depression, and that for me would be my recommendation, that you get the person, if you're worried about somebody, you get the person to see a therapist. So you can use cognitive behavioral therapy. You can do that in isolation or in combination with medication. I don't really advise medication except the therapies are not working, because the medication can interfere with during pregnancy, with the baby's health, and also during postpartum period with breastfeeding. So they can seep into the breast milk. So you have to be careful with that. But cognitive behavioral therapy can help. Interpersonal therapy. So CBT is just about changing how the person thinks, changing some aspects of the person's cognitive behavior, like rumination, which is a kind of worrying over things in the past. Not a problem-solving kind of worry. So CBT targets rumination, targets certain irrational thinking and irrational beliefs. This can help a woman. CBT can help a woman. Then interpersonal therapy is trying to help the woman strengthen her relationships, and then also dealing with the social network she has, relations with the people around her, strengthening the people around her to be able to better support her. So CBT, interpersonal therapy, and I think mindfulness, either in combination or in isolation, can help. It's really hot out here and I'm trying to shut out the noise, sweating a bit. So mindfulness can also help, as a therapy on its own, practicing mindfulness daily and being guided by a professional to practice mindfulness, that can also help, So, but then if you have to take medication, just ensure that the doctor is fully aware of your circumstance and the medication are prescribed. I won't want to mention the names of any medication here. Just see a professional and make sure that the medication are prescribed. But therapy can do a whole lot, I think, both therapy and medication, either in isolation or in combination.
Right.
For me, like you said, I had to do therapy on myself. I had to do CBT on myself. So I just reordered my thinking and tried to deal with irrational thoughts. And then I also had a good support network in the person of my husband, and the other children were supportive, and that helped me deal with it.
Right. So Blessing, as you've mentioned about, at the end you have mentioned about the support system as well. Your husband has supported you as well as your kids. But let's say I just want to understand the role of the support system that has to be there, or that's good enough in cases like this where they can actually come out and help themselves out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, because it's really important. Now, there are certain things that people do for, especially, let's start with postpartum, a postpartum woman who are just put to bed and they think they're helping out, but unknown to them, unbeknownst to them, they are complicating your problem. For instance, in Africa where I live, when you give birth, almost round the clock, you will have visitors. And when they come in, they're not going to leave you in time. So they keep you busy just talking and talking and talking. And this does not help, because, there are a lot of responsibilities you have to deal with. And in the night, because the baby will be whining all through the night, you cannot sleep. So during the daytime, when the baby will be sleeping, that's when you get the time to sleep. But if everyone around is keeping you busy, just talking and increasing the demands on your time, you're not going to get enough sleep, and that's going to increase your risk for postpartum depression. So we have to be supportive. Also, there's a lot of strain on your body. The whole exercise of pregnancy and delivery strains you physically. And so whoever it is around you, your husband, neighbors, friends, they should ensure that they reduce physical strain. So you don't have to deal with the laundry all by yourself. They should be able to help with the house chores, to be able to help with cooking the meals. You understand that. So when they take off that physical pressure, then you have more time to rest and your body can recover faster. Then when you have to deal with the housework, sometimes if you have other children, it's also really difficult when you have to deal with, the responsibility of taking care of the other children and this newborn baby. So if you have someone who can help with dealing with that, the other children, then you're better able to cope with the baby at hand. There are a lot of ways of supporting. They should just be more understanding. People around you should understand when you're having mood swings. There's some things you would do that, like I said, you can be a bit irritable. They should understand that and they should tolerate that instead of fighting back or getting back at you. So you need a whole lot of emotional support. You need physical support. As much as they can, they should support and understand that this phase is a difficult phase. Whatever your need, and the needs can also be individual and different. So whatever the needs of the person you're dealing with, you have to sense that person's need and respond to the person's needs.
Right. And how do you think we can help ourselves? You have mentioned about mindfulness, but let's say I recognize the symptoms, these are the things that's happening to me. What do you think should be the immediate steps that I have to take, that a woman has to take?
Yeah, if you notice the symptoms and you're not coping well, I would advise you to see a therapist, because you can joke, like I said before, you might be having suicidal ideation, you may hurt yourself. Because I forgot to mention, one of the symptoms too that peculiar to perinatal depression is having thoughts of hurting the baby or attempting to hurt the baby. So if you do not get help, you might hurt yourself or hurt your newborn child. So if you're feeling the symptoms, please see a therapist. Please see a therapist. Even when the symptoms do not seem to be pervasive enough, or they don't seem to worry you, take care of your health. Like you said, what can I do to help myself? If you just given birth, accept help from people. Some people don't accept help from other people. For me, for instance, when I give birth, I like to care for my children all by myself. But that will strain you, that will wear you out. So accept help from the people around you. Try to ensure you get as much sleep as you possibly can, because sleep is very important. Try to get enough sleep, try to get sufficient nutrition. Because if you're a breastfeeding mother, for instance, you're sharing whatever you're taking in with the baby, you're supporting. So sufficient nutrition, enough sleep, accepting support from others. But then if you know you have a problem, see a therapist, a physician.
Right. Well, thanks, Blessing. Thanks a lot for helping us understand the whole process of it.
Is it possible that I can take out my jacket on this? I need to take out my jacket.
Please. Please.
I'm sweating
Please. No. I can see you sweating as well. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's hot around where I am. I'm in Africa. We're in the tropical region. It's really hot here, and I tried to shut everywhere up, and I didn't want any noise interfering with this. So I'm hot, but now I think I'm better.
Right. All right. So Blessing, again, thanks for sharing all of this. I think we have, understood the topic, and I'm sure, our listeners who would listen to this, they'd get an idea and, try to do the necessary steps, whichever you have mentioned. I hope that will work for them. So now we'll just come back to ourselves. Not in the topic, since we have almost covered all the important aspects. Is there something that you would want to cover on the topic, or do you think it's good enough for now?
Well, I think pretty much good enough, but it's also important for them to know that 10 to 20% of women worldwide struggle with perinatal depression. That would be like 1 in every 20 women in America. So it's more, like I said, more widespread than we think, Like I said, whether you're really perinatally depressed or not, every woman in the perinatal period will have mood swings, and every one of them will need your support. So I think that's important for them to know. I can't think of anything more I would like to share on this topic for now. Maybe if something comes up and we're still here, why not? I'll share it.
Of course. Well, thanks, Blessing. So, Blessing, you're told that you're in Nigeria right now, right?
Yeah.
So how's Nigeria?
Yeah.
Just wanted to understand how's exactly the place.
That's a difficult question to ask. Well, Nigeria is good, great nation, great people. we are struggling with leadership. We are even in a transition period politically, and it's usually a difficult period for us, especially because I would say we've hit an all-time low, and we are hopeful that with the next elections, we're going to have better leadership and an improvement in the conditions, without which, to me, I think it will be really bad for the country. We have a lot of opportunities, a lot of resources, but we have a high problem of insecurity at this time. There's a lot of insecurity at this time, insecurity to life and property. We have religious crisis here and there, littered in some specific places in Nigeria. And then the global economic crunch, we are feeling it really hard here. So there's a high inflation rate. I think at this time, I'm not exact about the figure, but we've passed 15% inflation at this time, I can say. Right. So the inflation rate is really high. The value of the naira has dropped so badly that for you to survive, you have to have your hands dirty with a lot of different jobs. You have to work here and there. And this was not the case a decade ago. So it's really difficult for Nigerians at this time. And that's why there's also an elevation in mental health disruptions in Nigeria, because people are not coping too easily. Some people are not coping. The young people, no job opportunities. We're hoping actually that by next year, this time, if I have an opportunity to speak with you again, things would have changed, because we're looking at having a better leadership, hopefully. Yeah, but besides that, everything is cool, fair weather. And there's one unique thing about Nigerians. We're very optimistic people. So no matter what it is, we are happy, generally happy, accommodating. If you come over to Nigeria, we welcome you. We are hospitable people, and we have to tell anything is wrong. Yeah.
That's really wonderful, and I hope everything gets settled down as soon as possible. And as you have also mentioned, the current situation, yes, it's not very favorable, but I'm sure everything would come to an end, and it will be a happy ending, or maybe happy going from here on. And yes, I'll definitely keep in touch, and we'll talk about it maybe after a year or something. We can discuss about it as well. Right. So Blessing, since in this podcast we just not only discuss the topic, but we also try to understand, how exactly or what motivated you to be a psychologist, and how did it start? Because I think it takes a different story again for someone to be a psychologist or have an interest in it. So when did this interest start with you? Like, was it from the childhood, very childhood itself, or it just happened to grow?
I think it's more like from childhood. I didn't want to be a psychologist, but I had this thing where people will always come to me seeking counsel, seeking my opinion. And it was really funny because while I was still in my early teens, friends of my mother's, they're my teachers because my mother used to be a teacher, they will come to me asking my opinion of kind of serious issues. And I would always wonder, why me? Why not? And then even in the home, I had like a prime place. Everybody trusted me with a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities. That notwithstanding, I didn't want to be a psychologist. I wanted to be an engineer, a scientist. Okay. But somewhere along the line, my father's influence, one or two other influences, I got to do biology education for my first degree. And while I was running that, I had about two of my lecturers point me towards psychology, Was funny. I didn't think I wanted to go ahead and do parasitology. That's what I wanted. But two lecturers that I hold dear and I respect a lot said, why don't you try psychology? And when I got married, my husband was saying the same thing. So I was like, why not? That's how I got into psychology. And I can tell you no regrets at all. I have totally enjoyed it. It is life transforming being a psychologist, because the good thing about psychology is that it's applicable to everyday life. And so when you begin to apply these psychological principles first to your own life, you notice a change immediately. Like I spoke to you about mindfulness. At some point I was at odds with myself, going here and there, working morning till night. I was never really present in the moment. I was never really giving all my best to any one activity. I was not really enjoying any activity as fully as I could, until I applied the principle of mindfulness to my own life. And when I did, and I saw the results, I'm like, wow. So I'm in a place where I'm trying to influence people towards mindfulness, trying to get more people to practice mindfulness, because I can see I've tested it. I know that it's beneficial. So I want other people to share in the benefits. That's what I'm doing now. I just started doing that through my YouTube channel, and then through my work with my students as well. So that's it. That's for me. That was it about psychology. Yeah.
Right. Well, very well, Blessing. And now I understand why your name is Blessing. I'm sure your mother should be very proud of you with things, and trusting you on important aspects of discussions, because it takes a very rational person as well opinionated person to have our actually discuss these kind of topics, because topics can be sensitive at times, and sometimes all we need is just someone to hear us and understand us, and give the right things that we want to hear, or at least the good things. So I think you have been you have been wonderful that way. But apart from psychology, what are your hobbies? I mean, I can see a piano at the back. Do you play, or does your
Okay.
yeah.
My children, I love music a lot. I didn't get the opportunity to learn, as a child per se, though I can strike one or two notes on the piano. But my children are all into instruments. My first daughter, she plays the violin very well. My second daughter, she plays the flutes. They play in the church orchestra. My son, he plays the piano, and he just got a clarinet, so he's learning. My husband is learning to play the guitar, so we all love music. And for my hobbies, I love reading. I really love reading. And writing, I didn't mention because I didn't want to. Did I mention? I can remember I'm an author. I've published 3 books, and I have a lot in the offing, a lot coming on. So I love writing, I love reading, I really love teaching, public speaking. So I do stuff like this quite often and a lot. And that was what motivated me to do YouTube as well. So those are some of my hobbies. And then I also like solitude a little bit. So I love to sit quietly alone all by myself, preferably close to nature, either in the mountains or by the seaside, and just enjoy nature. So I love my own company a lot. I love to be by myself, and I'm fine like that. So those are some of my hobbies. Yeah.
Right. Very amazing. Very amazing. So what's your ultimate goal, ultimate dream, Blessing?
I didn't get that, please.
What's your ultimate goal? Like, what is something that you'd want to have or accomplish ultimately?
What have I not accomplished, really? Because I've gotten to a place of self-awareness where I know that everything takes time. There's a time for everything. Maybe what I really want to accomplish in the nearest future is to be a policy maker in the educational sector. Because I didn't mention this, I'm running my own NGO. We deal with gender-based violence issues because I'm a gender-based violence activist, and also educational development issues. And even at the moment, interfacing with the government on examination malpractice, trying to reduce the rate of exam malpractice in my state, in my country. My PhD thesis was on using rational emotive behavioral therapy to curb examination malpractice. So I'm interested in that. But I want to become a policy maker, because I think that's where I'll be able to have a greater influence. So if we can influence policies on education and even some policies on gender mainstreaming, I want to be able to see that our educational sector is strong and thriving. Because right now, I think we're facing some challenges, so I think there's a lot I can do, but there's just so much I can do as a lecturer in the classroom. So I want to be able to be maybe a commissioner for education in the state for a start, and eventually I would like to be a minister for education in my country, so that I think I'll be able to make a lot more changes and impacts, in those positions. So maybe that's what I'm still aspiring towards, that I have not accomplished yet. Yeah.
Right. All the best blessings for that. And I'm sure you'll do that. You are really energetic. I mean, I can feel your energy even now talking to you, right from the beginning when I saw you. Now, the whole discussion, I think it was really wonderful. And I'm sure you would do that. Maybe Nigeria needs someone like you as well in terms of making changes and, making fruitful changes as well. So again, thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks a lot for being in this podcast and educating us on different aspects of mental health again. And all the best to you for the future as well.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure being on this with you. And you said I'm a wonderful host. I can attest to that now because you made it easier. And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thanks.
I'm looking forward to another future edition, maybe,
Of course. There should be, there is. Well, thanks again, Blessing. Thanks for joining us. And for now, that's it for today's episode. But again, we'll be back with many other episodes. Please be tuned. And I hope, Blessing, again to hear from you out, and I'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So bye. Yeah.